So, why doesn't China traditionally have cheese? It's a common question, and if you ever spend some time online, you've probably seen an answer with a graphic a bit like this. Lactose intolerant around the world. For China, we're at 92%. So, of course, you're not gonna develop a dairy industry that no one can eat it. And of course, that's why China's always been the land of tofu. No milk, no yogurt, no cheese. Simple question, simple answer, case closed. But that's it. I'm Chinese, I live in China, and there's nothing more Chinese than our collective obsession over milk tea. It started in Hong Kong with the Hong Kong style milk tea, then it was layered with boba milk tea from Taiwan, and now throughout the country you can find a ton of milk tea shops. Milk tea streets like this are a popular hangout for young people. There's premium brand like Haiti with their famous cheese froth, and then in every single town in the country, you will at least be able to find one Misha. But that's just China. What about Japan? 98% lactose intolerant, and they seem to love their royal milk tea. What about Southeast Asia? 96% lactose intolerant, but in Bangkok, you can't go too far without a Thai style strict milk tea. Or what about Vietnam? Isn't their coffee like half condensed milk? And on that note, what about Italy? Ranging from 20% to 68%. But isn't Italy the place that actually invented cappuccino? So I'm not gonna lie, this whole thing is starting to make me feel like a lactose intolerance truther. Now, I do believe in the scientific consensus that there's this specific gene for breaking down lactose, the LCT gene. And apparently 92% of China don't have it. But there has to be something else going on here. So I'm Cantonese. I grew up with milk, yogurt, and ice cream, and I lived in Shunde, where they are famous for their deep fried milk, stir fried milk, and double skim milk. And nowadays in China, every kid's favorite is pizza, and which sometimes you may be able to find it without tomato sauce, but never without cheese. So, with these questions in mind, we reach out to a proper expert, Dr. Jennifer Dubois, who is a professor of biochemistry at Montana State University and runs the Dubois Lab and specializes in microbiome. So, Jen is our professor here.
Sounds good.
So let's talk about lactose intolerant because I also did a gene test and it says that I'm also genetically lactose intolerant. But I drink milk all the time. So what does that mean to be lactose intolerant?
So, lactose intolerance is actually a really interesting genetic condition.
Oh.
So, I have a model of lactose. It's two simple sugars linked together, and there's a single enzyme called lactase that pops them apart. And if you lack the enzyme that's capable of doing that, you can't digest lactose any further. But the genetic reason behind a lactose deficiency is that you just simply aren't making the functional lactase gene product. And that's because lactose, which is the major sugar in milk, is baby food. So if you're an adult, you don't have any real need for lactose.
I see. People always say that if you're lactose intolerant, it will cause some kind of discomfort. I got full very fast from drinking milk straight, or sometimes even eating cheese. If I eat a lot of cheese, I'll also get full. Is there any like kind of common diagnosis?
So lactose intolerance is sort of a spectrum. People can experience a little bit of discomfort or they can experience a lot of it. But if you experience really significant lactose intolerance, enough to take you to a doctor, they'll ask you to breathe into a tube. And if you're exhaling hydrogen gas like the Hindenburg, that's the easiest diagnostic for lactose intolerance. And the reason why somebody who's lactose intolerant would exhale hydrogen is that they're not digesting their lactose. Their microbiome is digesting their lactose by fermentation.
Oh.
So if you are one of those 30% of the people on the planet who can actually make functional lactase well into adulthood, you would not be exhaling hydrogen gas. But if you're relying on your microbiome to do it for you, then you would probably be exhaling a lot of it, and that's part of the reason for your discomfort. Now, if you are a regular drinker of milk, and there are people who drink milk every day despite being lactose intolerant, then you probably have a very well-trained microbiome. And your microbiome is probably chock full of microbes that are fermenting your lactose to make hydrogen gas. And these are called lactobacilli. And if you, like me, are a lactose intolerant person who likes yogurt, and you look at the cultures in your yogurt, you'll see that they say L. acidophilus, L. casei, L. rhamnosus, and the L is for the genus name Lactobacilli. So these are lactose-consuming microbes that live in your GI tract, and they're enjoying all that lactose that is causing you a problem,
So
making hydrogen gas.
So that means our gut's making yogurt for us.
Your gut is making it for you. And that can cause a little bit of discomfort, but there are people in Africa, for example, these Somali herdsmen who are completely lactose intolerant genetically, but who consume at least a half liter of milk every day as part of their diet because that's how they survive. Although we do know that things like lactobacilli are almost universal. Almost every person on Earth is going to have some kind of lactose digesting organism in them. Whether you have a huge army of them or just a small little friendly band might have more to do with what you eat. Now, if you're the sort of person who really rarely drinks milk, and one fine day you decide that you're going to go out for an ice cream party or you're going to drink a liter's worth of milk, then you might experience some very bad clinical symptoms because it turns out it takes a while to build up a microbiome that has enough lactobacilli to do this work for you. So what you're probably going to feel is sort of like you just ate a sweater because you've filled your GI tract with something that you can't digest, your microbiome can't digest. And so what happens is a bunch of water will rush into your GI tract. It'll really inflate your intestines, and you might end up with a little bit of diarrhea. So that's when people end up with a clinical manifestation that might actually send them to the doctor. But if the consequence is, feeling full because you have a little bit of extra gas or maybe you have extra water retained in your GI tract, that's not the worst thing in the world. It would probably be clinical if you were vomiting or really feeling something that took you to a doctor, and then they would probably say you should take lactase pills if you really have to have that milk tea.
So right now, my understanding is that the effect has a couple different factors. One very important is that they have a microbiome that can help them digest.
If you are lacking the ability to produce lactase, then yes, having a well-functioning microbiome that can do the work for you is very important. And part of that well-functioning microbiome in terms of your comfort could be when you ferment the lactose, downstream product of that is hydrogen gas, and hydrogen gas is a gas, and it's going to literally bloat you up. And so if you have a friend of that initial consumer who likes to eat the hydrogen, they can cooperate. And so, this is how I imagine these people who are the Somali herdsmen who are really punching above their weight, drinking a liter of milk a day, they probably have a very well-conditioned microbiome, not only to break down the lactose, but to take care of all the downstream metabolic products that come after, and they feel plenty fine.
So I really appreciate your time and help today to help me, lactose intolerant Asian, understanding what is going on with my gut and why I can actually eat and consume dairy. And most importantly, I learned this pill lactase. I'm gonna bring it with me next time traveling to a dairy heavy area so that I can eat all the things that I love.
Do that, especially when you're in Europe and all those happy cheese eaters are
Yeah, I know.
making fun of you because you can't enjoy with them.
I know it's such a shame that I feel full so fast now that I know
Yeah,
the trick. So
they say it helps.
yeah, that will definitely be my biggest takeaway for today
Yep,
as a food lover.
yep.
So again, thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome, Steph, and it was great meeting you.
So, besides bringing lactase pills to any potential cheese feast in France, my biggest takeaway is that this map is probably better communicated in the inverse. We see a specific genetic mutation that allows some people to digest and get calories from lactose into adulthood. But the phenotype of lactose intolerance is messy, it's a spectrum. And some people, like those Somali herdsmen, they have the microbiome that makes it no problem at all. Which brings us back to our original question: why didn't China have cheese? For this, our friend and food historian Thomas Dubois, yes, the same Dubois, has his answer. That lactose intolerant was part of it, but it's also a chicken and the egg kind of phenomenon. Sure, souring and coagulating can solve most of the digestibility issues, like the 71% intolerant turkey, but you also have a lot less of an incentive to make this high value add product when you don't have a base dairy industry to begin with. But China's a big place, and you do see it in pockets, like our old homes in Shunde or our current home in Yunnan. And I like that answer, and I would also like to humbly submit my own hypothesis of why. It's no why, just because. It's definitely not a satisfying answer, but sometimes it's just the way that it is. Because, like, why doesn't India have tofu? Why doesn't Scandinavians have fish sauce? Or why doesn't Italy have shrimp paste? Sometimes it's just the way culture evolves. When we look at history, we can usually do a pretty good job on figuring out why something happened. But it's a lot harder to answer why something didn't happen. Sometimes it's not even knowable. Sometimes it's just the way the cookie crumbles. So, right, I know this is a bit of a weird one. We just really want to get to the bottom of this. So, a huge thank you for Jen and other Dubois out there for helping us to answer this question. Our recipe video will be back next week. In the meantime, thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon, and of course, subscribe for more Chinese milk loving videos.